Line, sponsored by Munchie Biscuits. Munch into happiness. Good evening. My name is Clara Milano.
Good evening. I am Shelley and Jonathan Nintim Dako translates the news into sign language.
We start off from the international front, which is sponsored by Piccadilly Choco Cookies. The leader of the coup, which ousted Guinea's President Alpha Condé, says a new union government will be formed in weeks.
Colonel Mamadi told ministers who served in Mr. Condé's government that there would be no witch hunt against former officials. We'll bring you that story later. Meanwhile, the head of the Ghana mission in Guinea, John Boafo, says the military is promising an inclusive transition involving all stakeholders.
He says shops, banks and offices remain closed. There was wild jubilation on some streets and the hostel of the president. He spoke with Azalea.
Their initial promise from their first communique, they still hope that they are going to have inclusive transition. They are going to consult all the stakeholders. They are going to add all the people that they should add to make sure that they take a decision together, so that they will move the country ahead. There's no business movement. Even the mini shops that need to buy things from it, most of them did not open. Markets were closed because the idea is that when something like this happens, the people with bad intentions, they always take advantage of looting people's items. And so everybody has closed his shop to observe the outcome of the meeting.
By the directive of the President of the ECOWAS Commission for Extraordinary Council on Institutional Reform, which was to take place on September 9, 2021 in Accra, has been postponed. Instead, there will be an extraordinary summit on Guinea. Meanwhile, ECOWAS has condemned Sunday's coup in Guinea and has demanded swift return to constitutional rule.
The bloc has also ordered the immediate and unconditional release of President Alpha Condé and all other persons arrested in the power seizure by our named soldiers calling themselves the National Committee for Reconciliation and Development. In a statement issued in Accra by the chairperson of the ECOWAS Authority, President Akufo-Addo asked the Guinean Defense and Security Forces to remain in a constitutional posture and express solidarity with the Guinean people and their government. Still on Guinea, with a population of 10.5 million, Guinea's mineral wealth makes it potentially one of Africa's richest countries, but its people are among the poorest in West Africa. Experiments with socialism and a two-year rule by junta have taken their toll on prospects for development. The 2010 election ushered a civilian rule, but led to violent ethnic clashes as well. In addition, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Liberia and Sierra Leone have strained Guinea's struggling economy.
The instability has generated suspicion and ethnic tension, as well as accusations between neighbors of attempts at destabilization and border attacks. Alpha Condé became president in 2010 after a lifelong battle against a series of despotic and military regimes which sent him into exile and prison. It was Guinea's first democratic election since gaining independence from France in 1958. However, the vote kindled ethnic tensions as Mr. Condé hails from the Malinke ethnic group, which makes up 35% of the population. The defeated Salou Diallo is a member of the Peul ethnic group, to which 40% of Guineans belong. Mr. Diallo has repeatedly accused the president of sidelining his constituents, including many Peul. Both allies and critics alike acknowledged his charisma and intelligence. But some also describe him as authoritarian and impulsive, someone who rarely listens to others and often acts alone. His supporters, however, consider him untainted, a new man who has never had the opportunity to participate in the looting of the country. He was elected for a second term in 2015, but faced protest 4 years later when he tried to change the constitution and run for a third term.
The leader of the coup which ousted Guinea's President Alpha Condé says a new government would be formed in weeks. Colonel Mamadi told ministers who served in Mr. Condé's government that there would be no witch hunt against former ministers.
President Alpha Condé remains in detention, but his fate is unclear. The UN, African Union and regional body ECOWAS have condemned the coup and called for a return to civilian rule. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres tweeted his strong condemnation of the takeover of any government by force of the gun and called for the immediate release of President Alpha Condé. After hours of gunfire on Sunday, the streets of the capital Conakry are reported to be quiet, but it remains unclear if the entire military backs the coup. Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who heads the Army's Special Forces Unit, did not say on Monday when the new government will be in place. In a statement, he said a consultation will be launched to set down the broad parameters of the transition, and then a government of national union will be established to steer the transition. He told former ministers that they could not leave the country and had to hand over their official vehicles to the military. Now to Israel. 1-year-old twin girls who were born conjoined at the back of their heads have seen each other for the first time after undergoing rare separation surgery in Israel. The 12-hour operation at the Soroka Medical Center in the city of Beersheba last week took months of preparation and included the scalp grafts for both. Dozens of experts from Israel and abroad were involved. The girls, who have not been named, are said to be recovering well. The head of Soroka's plastic surgery department, in a television interview, said they are breathing and eating on their own. It is the first time such an operation, which has only been conducted 20 times worldwide, has been performed in Israel. Months before the surgery, inflatable silicone bags were inserted into their heads and periodically expanded to stretch the skin. Soroka's chief neurosurgeon, Mr. Mickey Gideon, said a new skin was then used to seal their heads after the skulls were reconstructed. Preparation also included the creation of a 3D virtual reality model of the twins. He added that to their delight, everything went well as hoped. The girls, who were born in August 2020, are expected to lead completely normal lives.
He told the Western North region, President Akufo-Addo inaugurated a 6.7 million Ghana cedi Sefwi Akontombra rice processing factory. The state-of-the-art rice facility is equipped to produce between 1.5 and 2.8 tons of processed rice per hour.
The Sefwi Akontombra rice factory was constructed under the One District One Factory Common User Facility. It is an agro-industrial facility established by the Rural Enterprises Program. The Rural Enterprises Program is run by the Ministry of Trade and Industry. The factory will employ about 118 people, including management professionals, factory floor workers and plantation workers who will work on a nucleus rice farm. In addition, over 600 farmers from Sefwi Akontombra district and neighboring communities will be engaged to supply paddy rice for processing. With funding from the African Development Bank, The Rural Enterprises Program has established 5 of these common user facilities across the country. The Akontombra Common User Facility is expected to be owned by farmer-based organizations and other value chain actors within the selected communities. The factory will be managed by top-notch management professionals and technicians to be recruited competitively by the Ministry of Trade and Industry through the Rural Enterprises Program for profitability and growth of the factory. The Akontombra factory has a standby generator plant and a mechanized borehole to supply the facility with water. It also has a fully furnished office accommodation for staff, a conference room, laboratory and a canteen. The processing plants installed at the factory include modern parboiling, milling and packaging plants.
Staying in Western North, President Akufo-Addo inaugurated the newly constructed office complex for use by the Western North Regional Coordinating Council. The administration block of the Western North Regional Coordinating Council is one of the 6 new administration structures under construction for the 6 newly created regions. This is the first completed facility for use.
Western North Regional Coordinating Council Administration Complex was constructed at 17,647,000 Ghana cedis. It will house all the departments of the Western Regional Coordinating Council and other institutions for effective and efficient administration of the region. Already, the Western Regional Coordinating Council has received 8 vehicles to help make work smoothly take off in the newly created region. The President also paid a courtesy call on the Chief of Akontombra, Nana Kwabena Ebi, achieved lauded government cocoa rehabilitation policy, which has so far resulted in treatment of 11,564 hectares of farms affected by the swollen shoot diseases in the western, north and eastern regions.
And we are Timmy, we are coming. In Yadoson, chieftaincy issues, no, a Dawson, a bassa, yen to me, Momu, and moi on my penny, and man, your person, Yamayano, on ye, and my into someone. And I got them say, your mama day, near Nina, and Mohuban. You could acquire pa and some crofos, and no. Yen on the vessel, on your mama day, now we mean you Hujuma.
President Akufo-Addo on his part thanked the people of Serbia Akontombra for the support to his government.
Infrastructure development, the air cost of teacher, Masem Hiakese. The Wakasawa no there, you can never forget it. Western region, Sada Sopa, it's a you, mini Ababomidi. I have a vested interest in making sure that the Western region, Western North region, progress there. Everybody also no. Not paying for a while. A fancy damoso. No cosunja echi. Ya basi baba ye bibi papa bia mema man koso so tumi adedi. One tie echi a ni ebede. Make a drink attitude, spirit.
The matter of the choice of Metropolitan Municipal and District Chief Executive, President Akufo-Addo announced that the incumbent District Chief Executive for the Akontombra District Assembly, Mr. Yosin Amwa, will be retained as DCE.
Experts and partners in the agricultural sector have met at the CSIR in Accra to discuss how to effectively promote the plant variety protection system in the country. The 2-day program will also help to develop a national roadmap to implement a legal framework to protect these plant varieties and its related guidelines.
Most seed companies in Africa do not engage in plant breeding, and almost all varieties in the commercial portfolio of seed companies are public, bred by agricultural research institutions and universities. For instance, the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement of the University of Ghana developed 3 new hybrid maize varieties which were released onto the market for cultivation and consumption. Hence, the protection of the right of plant breeders is a vital stimulus to develop quality plant varieties. In this regard, the West African and Central African Council for Research and Development, GORAF-WICAD, introduced the PED program to deploy efforts to establish favorable framework, create awareness and strengthen human and organizational capacities for smooth implementation of plant variety protection (PVP) system in target countries. The target countries are Ghana, Benin, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, and Senegal. In Ghana, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research (CSIR) is spearheading the implementation of the PED project with funding from USAID.
Our research efforts in this direction has included the development of crop varieties with higher yields per hectare, early maturing, pest and disease resistant, as well as varieties with enhanced nutritional values for socioeconomic growth and development. Unfortunately, most of these improved crop varieties released are not protected by adequate regulation or intellectual property.
If well applied, the plant variety protection system can be an important tool to encourage the creation and release of new varieties of plants, ensuring and improving access to innovation, technology transfer, food security, and genetic diversity.
Some areas for discussion during the National Stakeholders Workshop are the Ghana Seed System, the Variety Protection Law, Act 1050, and its implementing regulations, and then private sector participation in plant variety development and seed delivery. Speakers at the program agreed that it was important to create the needed awareness for the PVP system in the country.
The public sector working alone cannot develop sustainably the seed sector. The private sector is partnership with government, is part of the solution, and USAID is convinced that by working together, the public and private sectors can help deliver abundant, affordable, and nutritious food for all.
The program is expected to set the pace for advocacy and awareness creation on the plant variety protection system to be effective in Ghana. Rachel Quarty, GBC News, Accra.
You're still watching News Hour Live on GBC News. Management of the Ghana Water Company says there will be an interruption of water supply to the western part of the Greater Accra region from Monday the 13th to Friday the 17th of September 2021.
In a statement, the GWCL says engineers will be replacing some faulty valves on the main 900mm transmission pipelines, which impedes water flow and causes challenges in the distribution lines. There are some leakages also within the supply area, causing GWCL to lose several volumes of water daily and consequently affecting the volumes available for consumption. The statement said GWCL engineers will also take advantage of the shutdown to install some electromagnetic meters at the water treatment plant, which will help the company's drive to reduce non-revenue water. Management is therefore entreating consumers in Accra, especially consumers in the western part of the metropolis, to store enough water for consumption during the period of the shutdown. Areas to be affected include Weija, Bawi, Kaswa, Malam, Sakaman, Odoko, Dansoman, Mamprobi, Agegi, Kolegon, Kolibu, Latebio Koshin, Matahiko, North Industrial Area, Kanishin, Abudome Estates, North Kanishin, Abekan La Paz, Kwashiman, Anya, Santa Maria, Ablekuman, Alaji, Tabora, Tesano, Dome, Taifa, Achimota, and surrounding communities. The company says it has put in place measures to serve the affected areas so the impact will not be severe. It says the government COVID-19 free water reservoirs will still be filled with water tankers to enable consumers fetch for free.
The attention of management of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation (GBC) has been drawn to a story on Daily Guide online platform with the caption, quote, GBC spent 17 million Ghana cedi on 2020 elections, unquote. The story mentions the Director General of GBC, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, as having said so. Our management wishes to state, however, that the story does not reflect what the Director General said. Professor Amin Hassan, the Director General, said GBC spent $3 per minute on the live coverage of the 2020 election petition and 17 million Ghana cedi on public service broadcasts in 2020. Management hopes that the erroneous impression that GBC spent 17 million Ghana cedi in the coverage of the 2020 elections is corrected.
Dasibra Otuo Siribour, Ghana's longest-serving traditional ruler, has marked 50 years of his enthronement at Asante Dwabin. Dasibra Otuo Siribour, who is the current chairman of the Council of State, ascended the throne of the Dwabin paramountcy on August 31, 1971, at the age of 26. GBC's Napoleon Atukito was in Asante Dwabin to observe cultural festivities associated with the occasion.
Royal wisdom, insight, foresight, glamour, all crystallizing in exemplary leadership. The direct beneficiaries being people of Asante Dwabin, Ashanti region, Ghana, and humanity as a whole. The first step of the journey of 50 years was taken on 31st of August 1971 when a young electrical engineer of the Electricity Corporation of Ghana was identified and crowned the king by the kingmakers of Asante Dwabin 3 weeks after death of the king, Nana Sapon II, who was his uncle. That was how Dasibre Utuo became the Omanhene or paramount chief of Asante Dwabin traditional area. The new chief was put in confinement, which allowed the chief-elect to be assessed on his readiness to take up the huge responsibility. He passed the test conducted at a traditional grove called Apate, where he was taught oral heritage relating to the history and institutions of Dwabin State and the Kingdom of Ashanti. Reports say parents of the new king played key roles in putting him on good footing. Dasibra Otuo Siribour was born Yaobuachi, but when he started schooling, he became Peter Mponsa under guidance of elders. He schooled at Opokuwari Secondary School in Kumasi, Achimota School in Accra, and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST in Kumasi. The Professor Albert Dubois Park at Asante Dwabin, thronged by townsfolk and well-wishers in celebration of the new epoch, personified in Dasibra Otuo Siribour, he has brought development to his area and sustained unity among people in the land. Everybody attests to this and perhaps brings to the fore the driving force behind such a quality product whose personality extends beyond traditional rulership to public service. In the long list of roles played by Dasibra Otuo Siribour include board membership of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Lands Commission, National House of Chiefs, and chairman of the KNUST Governing Board. Dasibra Otuo Siribour was also member of the 1979 Constituent Assembly, which drafted the Constitution for Ghana's Third Republic, as well as the Fourth Republic, on grounds of his participation in the 1991 Consultative Assembly. 2 days after the landmark event, one of the king's 11 children was installed a chief under the title Achempemhene of Asante Dwabin. Going by the name Nana Sapon Siribour, his coronation was attended by people in black, opposite of the white which was used in marking his father's golden jubilee. Traditions explain that before the new chief is installed, there could have been a death of the predecessor, hence the black represents mourning even as a new installation takes place. Achempemhenes in many traditional jurisdictions are not designated as heir apparents to the throne, but as first sons of the king, they play key roles like those of resident directors, leading the assemblage of other powerful chiefs in the cabinet of the king. Council of State Chairman Dasibra Otuo Siribour, right-hand man of the occupant of the golden stool of Ashanti Kingdom, Asante Hene Ayiku. Napoleon Atukito reporting.
On GBC News, your news and governance channel, we take a break. When we come back with some business. Please stay.